The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
G'day world, this is the Sniper of the Skies, Robbie Eagles, and you are listening to Keeping It Strong Style.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keeping It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keeping It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the Ace of Podcast on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we will review Night 1 of World Tag League and cover all its news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Please support our show by subscribing and following the Social Suplex Podcast Network or Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the network's podcasts over at socialsuplex.com. Check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store, ProWrestlingTees.com/Social Suplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt. And if you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and clicking on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Young boy, happy Thanksgiving week.
Happy Thanksgiving, Jeremy. And I'm so thankful that we only have one night of World Tag League to review. I am thankful for that. I think it's gonna be a good review though, because the show was pretty positive. So I think I've got some things to look forward to with this tournament. Hopefully, but it's always like this when World Tag League first starts, they kick it into high gear for those first couple Corkin shows, and they get your hopes up, and then by like night 9, you're like, the fuck are you doing?
What is going on? Especially when they're like in those like random like gymnasiums and it's like 500 people.
This is how I know we're not the most of the like plugged in, tuned in, dialed in Puro/New Japan shows, because we still don't know the names of those. We have not memorized the names of those venues. And there are other podcasts where they're like, yeah, that's Shinkiba First Ring, and like they know exactly where it is, like where the crowd sits on this side, and they routinely do 1500, blah blah blah, and we're just like, I don't know, bro. They're in Ota.
They're in Japan somewhere.
They're somewhere, but this is what happened on the show.
Oh,
before we jump into things, I did want to. Last week we made mention of it, but I didn't feel like it was the right time to kind of approach it, just because of having Chris on the show and everything with Kevin Kelly. But for longtime listeners, you probably noticed that this and last week's episodes of Keeping It Strong Style are not brought to you by the NJPW EXT, the only browser extension for NJPWWorld.com. Because there is no more NJPW EXT. With the new launch of the NJPW World app, it's kind of nullified the necessity to have an extension browser for NJPW World. And so, longtime listener, friend of the show, and collaborator, Danny, of, the owner and founder of the NJPW EXT, pretty much, let us know that going forward, he's not going to be doing that. And I just wanted to say thank you for Danny for coming on this show, several times in the past, helping us out, but also being a supporter, featuring us on that app, and collaborating with us and being a sponsor and everything that you've done. Because, there are people that support us, but I think that the extension is probably one of those things in the community that most added to what we do here at Keeping a Strong Style.
Yeah, I mean, it was great having us like featured on New Japan World technically with the extension, and I know a lot of people kind of found the show through that way. They're just kind of scrolling New Japan World and they see this banner for Keeping a Strong Style. So that was a huge win for us, and hit the chat feature. During COVID when New Japan Strong was running every Friday night, we did some of those like Friday night group chat things on the extension, and all watched New Japan Strong together and chatted. So that was cool. The extension was awesome. It really did help, navigate New Japan World. Like you said, it's no longer needed because of the new app and all the renovations that they did to NJPWWorld.com and all the new apps and stuff like that. But yeah, shout out to Danny. Thank you so much for working with us, helping Keeping a Strong Style get over. And, hopefully, this business relationship does not end, and there will hopefully be more stuff to come in the future in a different avenue.
I've heard there might be some things in the pipeline, possibly, maybe. We'll see.
So, yeah, shout out to Danny. Two other plugs I want to get in before we jump into all we got to talk about. First thing, so there are a couple of new shows now on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. So I know some of you subscribe just to the Keeping It Strong Style feed. I know some of you subscribe to just the network feed, and some of you subscribe to both. But we do have some great shows on the network, and we got two new ones that are running regularly now. We have Imp's WWE Adventure. So if you kind of want to get plugged in on what's going on in WWE and you don't want to listen to hours and hours of podcasts, Imp is giving you a 30-minute weekly podcast, giving you the highs and lows, telling you what happened on Raw, NXT, SmackDown, pay-per-views. It's a good way to kind of keep up with what's going on in WWE. And then we got our boy Chris Things is back on the network with Wrestling Art with Chris Things, and he's doing a couple different things with his podcast. One episode, he's a wrestling artist. He does a lot of wrestling drawings and paintings. And so he's doing this match of the week thing where he draws or paints like a match, and he brings a guest on. They talk about the match that he drew and gets kind of the significance behind that match. And then he's also doing interviews with other wrestling artists and kind of talking about their passions for wrestling and why they got into doing wrestling art. So it's a really cool concept. Nothing out there that's really like this, and so it's a really cool thing.
Yeah, definitely. And Imp has been on this show, as well as Chris Bryan / Chris Things of the Wrestling Art with Chris Things. Both of those guys have been here on the show previously. And Imp was a longtime contributor over at Wrestling Headlines, formerly known as Lords of Pain, and is, he's not in any means new to the podcast game, but this is the first show that he's ever done on our network. And, I checked it out, Jeremy. I'm not regularly watching WWE, but I think the show is very good. And if you know me, I'm not going to put something, even though it's on our network, I'm not going to put it over if I don't actually like it or actually think it's good. If anything, I'd probably bury it if I thought it actually sucked. But I do think it's good because it's just a 30-minute, in a nutshell, compilation of the major highlights of what happened that week in WWE. It's not like super, super in-depth, but it's just kind of like with broad strokes, letting you know what's going on. And I kind of appreciate that because, like, if it was an hour and a half, 2 hours on the Fed, like, I'm probably not going to listen. But I think Imp does a good job, and I think that 30 minutes is more than enough. And it's high time that we had something covering WWE on this network again. So I like that show. And then Chris Bryan's a good friend of ours, a good friend of mine, and he's he is an actual artist. Like, that is his full-time livelihood. That's how he lives and makes his living. And it is really cool that, like you said, like, yes, he's drawing a match every week, but like he's, offering those drawings and those paintings digitally. And they're really, really incredible. And like, Chris has been featured in all sorts of like different art exhibitions and stuff like that. So like, his stuff's pretty high level. And the stuff he's drawing is usually right up my alley. So when they're like doing the match review, it's not just how cool the art is, but it's also like the last one that they did, they covered, what was it, the 1970?
Was it a Terry Funk match?
Yeah, it was the Funks versus the Sheik and Abdullah from the All Japan Real World Tag League Finals. But I can't remember if it was 77 or 78. But that match is incredible.
It was 77.
Okay, yeah, 77, and that was really cool. And then every week they're doing something like that. He has who was it? Something Evans.
So week 1 he had on James Vanderbeek, and then he had on Cousin Ben to talk about Strong BJ versus Violent Giants, and then he has Sam Evans on the art curator edition where he's interviewing a wrestling artist.
Sam Evans is I follow him on Instagram. He's an incredible wrestling artist. Like his stuff, if you haven't checked it out, you need to see it. And I love that idea that it's not just his own personal work, but also putting a spotlight on other creators and content, producers, and sort of fostering like a sense of community. So I think that his show's kind of unique, and I'm digging it. So
yeah, if you go
I think you should definitely check both out.
Yeah, if you go to christhings.com.au, that's his site where you can purchase some of the wrestling art that he does. Really, really great stuff. And yeah, check out his podcast. And yeah, it's a kind of good way to find some new wrestling artists and get some cool stuff. He did
all the illustration on Phil Schneider's The Way of the Blade, which I own. And that's an incredible book, because it's just like 100 of the bloodiest matches ever, and like Chris literally like created art for every single match. Like I can't imagine how long that took, but yeah, it's one of my more prized books that I own, honestly.
Yeah, that's a great book, and yeah, Chris did a really great job with illustrations on that. So yeah, check out his podcast, his artwork. Check out Imp's podcast. Subscribe to the network. Of course, we got One Nation Radio, all things elite, keeping it strong style. A lot of great stuff on the network.
It's also good that the network is international once again.
Yes. And then other plug and shout out. It's official, signed, sealed, and delivered. Next week on the show, we're going to have on Walker Stewart, the new voice of English commentary for New Japan Pro Wrestling. We mentioned last week that we're going to have him on soon. Well, soon is next week. I've been talking to Walker, and he's very excited to come on the podcast, talk about his journey into New Japan, his journey in wrestling commentary.
Yeah, looking forward to that interview. And yeah, we got like 5 shows to review next week, plus a interview with Walker Stewart. It's going to be a packed week.
Yeah, make sure you're locked in for that one. So I know normally we do like the match reviews and show reviews, and news kind of goes towards the end, but there's been a lot of big news pieces that everybody's talking about that I feel like we need to cover up front. So before we jump into New Japan Road and World Tag League, let's talk about some of these bigger news items. First thing, Will Ospreay is all elite, bruv. So it was announced during AEW Full Gear on Saturday that Will Ospreay had officially signed with AEW. Ospreay came to the ring and said he would not begin immediately, as he has spent 8 years with New Japan Pro Wrestling and will finish his commitments there. Both Sports Illustrated and Fightful reported that Ospreay's contract with the company is a multi-year deal. Josh, I don't know if you've seen what's been going on Twitter the last few days since this news broke. There's been
Come on, bro. You think I'm not on Twitter. If I had seen what was going on Twitter, then our account would have gotten engaged in what's going on Twitter, and then you would know about it. The fact that it's been radio silent from the account means I didn't see any of it. I've been busy.
All right. Well, there's a lot of people up in arms, a lot of people upset that Will Ospreay would debut months before his contract is actually up. It ruins things for the Tokyo Dome triple threat match. A lot of people, went on Twitter, that their podcasts, and are very vocal, very upset about the announcement of the pay-per-view, Will's future. So Josh, what are your thoughts? Because we haven't talked at all about this. So I'm curious, what are you thinking about the way they announced Will and Will's future?
The first thing is, you mentioned that people are upset about what this does to the triple threat, and my first gut reaction is like, oh no, not the triple threat at Wrestle Kingdom. not the sanctity of David Finlay, Jon Moxley, and Will Ospreay.
Not
because
the prestigious new title.
Yeah, not the prestigious AEW All Japan Triple Crown title that's going to debut, like whatever the fuck it's going to be. I don't, man, honestly, like I heard that there was going to be some major announcement and signing, and like I didn't discount the idea that it could very well be Will Ospreay. In fact, what's funny is like, I'm not going to reveal sources, but like I've been told, and I can just say this now that it's out. We were told months ago, months and months ago that Will was 100% headed to AEW. Now, does that mean that there wasn't negotiations between now and then with him and WWE and the other companies? Possibly. I mean, I'm not privy to all that, but like I was told that it was basically a done deal, and that New Japan's office has been aware of this all along for quite some time. So none of this like really should be surprising. And like I've been in some New Japan groups and been like, don't expect Will to stick around. Hint.
Bro, we've been hinting on this show forever now. Like, Will's probably leaving. Will is gone. He's got one foot out the door.
And you know what? Credit where credit's due. The first place I ever heard that he was like for sure. And I mean, we were already speculating before I heard it. Like going back to, All In, and even prior to All In, like everyone on our network were like, Tony Khan's really treating Will Ospreay pretty well. It's almost like they might be making a play for him. You know what I mean? So it's like, you didn't have to be a brainiac to put two and two together. But the first place I ever heard like an official, like, hey guys, this might be happening. Credit where it's due was JCast. I heard that on their show. And as soon as I heard that, I, beep, 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 started like, sending the signal.
Tapping in.
And yeah. And we were hearing back from people being like, yeah, this is pretty much happening. Like there's people talking. It's a done deal. But, we're not a news breaking site. So none of this is surprising to me. But I'd already engaged with a few really rabid New Japan fans that were like, this is all rumors, it's not happening. And I was like, it is happening. It's happening, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's not sticking around. And the fact that they announced him now, I think it was mainly, political, because they've got the Wembley show tickets about to go on sale. He's probably going to headline that show or be featured in one of the top positions at that date. They've got time between now and then to build him up for that spot. And that's why they brought him in, because it's kind of hard to utilize him to build their tickets that are going on sale on December
1st, I think.
Something like that. I don't know. I'm not going, so it doesn't matter to me. But but that's why they did it. I mean, I don't know. Like it doesn't really matter to me. Like I will be honest, watching him come out and I hear the da 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 da, I was like, oh fuck. Like, because I wanted it to be anybody but Will. Not that I don't want Will, or not that like I didn't believe Will was leaving. I kind of knew he was, but at the same time, like I just kind of wanted to hold it off as long as possible until the inevitable actually took place. But once he like showed up there, it was like, all right, well, we might as well make peace with it. This is what's happening. Dude's gone. But I wasn't upset. I wasn't mad. I mean, if I do think that if there's criticism about the relationship between New Japan and AEW, and how New Japan is basically being treated like a farm league, like that's true, but this isn't the first instance of that. This is a continuation of a pattern,
Yeah. And I mean, it's not just AEW. You go back years and years, you got WWE, Impact. Like there are other companies that have gotten New Japan talent after they've gotten big in New Japan. And so, yeah, it's nothing new there. And, I wasn't upset either about Will coming out with the pay-per-view. Like you said, we've known for a while now that he was pretty much going to be signing with AEW. And, Will's been saying it himself that, hey, I'm negotiating. His priority is making as much money as possible. He has a stepson now. He wants to secure his future, his family's financial future. And I'm sorry, I love New Japan, but they do not have the financials to be able to counter offer a deal that came from AEW or WWE. That's just the facts. And so he was either going in one of those two places regardless. And so, but we pretty much already knew that it was going to be AEW. It makes all the sense. Like we mentioned, Tony Khan was already courting him. He got a big match at Wembley this past year. We saw him, integrated in the trios tournament with Aussie Open. Like he's already kind of had his foot in the door with AEW. I mean, he's built into the Don Callis family. Like
he's in a faction.
it all makes sense. Aussie Open is already there and signed. Like it all made sense. And Andrew Zarian from Wrestling Observer on Saturday, he posted like a picture of an Ospreay bird, and he had confirmed that it was going to be Will Ospreay. So there was multiple people already confirming that have the scoops and are legitimate that it was going to be Will Ospreay. So I wasn't surprised, and I'm not upset, and I can understand why people are upset, but I don't think him being announced as a signing on an AEW show really hurts Wrestle Kingdom. I think what hurts Wrestle Kingdom is the match that they're doing.
Yeah, the match itself sucks.
Like if you're New Japan and you know that Will Ospreay is leaving, he's one of your biggest stars. What should you do? You should use him to get somebody over in a one-on-one match, have him be beat for one of your top titles, and put a young new guy over. Why wasn't the Tokyo Dome match Will Ospreay versus Shota Umino? Will Ospreay versus Yota Tsuji? Will Ospreay versus Yuya Uemura? Like Will Ospreay versus anybody besides throwing in Jon Moxley and David Finlay. They could have built a young guy up to challenge Will at the Tokyo Dome, beat Will, and get the rub, and have somebody be the guy that sends Will Ospreay out of New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Well, I personally still think that's going to take place in February, although I could be wrong on that, but that's just my personal opinion. One thing too that kind of lends some credence to the idea that he's sticking around till February was the weird. Now, I'll be honest, that promo he cut and was weird as fuck, but the crowd was weird as fuck. Like, yeah. I didn't watch that whole show. I was out. I saw Thanksgiving, by the way. If any of you like horror movies, Thanksgiving, 5 stars, incredible, like an all-time top tier slasher. So funny, so fun. But anyways, I was watching that night, so like that kind of tells you where my priorities are with AEW. Like I went to the movies instead of watching the pay-per-view, and I came back just kind of in time to catch this. And one thing he said in the promo was like, when I started with that company, I was 22, and then I gave them 8 years. Now I'm a man. I'm 30 years old. And then he kind of it almost sounded like he alluded to the idea that he wants to be in AEW for another 8 years. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Which was strange. But then he was like, the one thing I asked, Tony, please let me finish my business in New Japan. I'm like, this is just fucking so
Let me finish, bro. Let me finish.
Yeah, like what? Who's this for? Like, what is this building to? And then he's like, and then I'll come back and I'll dominate. And I'm like, this is a shitty promo. This is honestly, like, I'm not upset that they did it, but I did think it felt really flat, and like I wasn't impressed by it at all, but it's fine. I guess it is what it is. Hopefully, I think some of the other stuff they've done with Ospreay and the company has been much better. Like the promo battle he had with Jericho for the Go Home to All In, that was like incredible. This was, I don't know. I don't know who this was for. I guess it was just to pop a pay-per-view number and try to sell some more tickets. But I do think it does, in theory, hurt like the match, but the match kind of sucks to begin with. And Jeremy, you and I were already speculating that this match was rife with political intrigue to begin with. And I think most of what, what's funny is almost everybody else has said the opposite of you and me, like that. I don't think many people see Finlay coming in as the pin eater the same way you and I do.
Yeah, I think most people are like, oh, well, clearly now Finlay is going to win.
And I've always felt like TK either doesn't want to have Mox or Will lose come at the Tokyo Dome, or he doesn't want them beating each other, or he doesn't want them to do that match now because maybe he's saving it for his own promotion. Who knows?
Yeah, but maybe that's Will's first, AEW pay-per-view match.
Could be. I don't know, but I definitely think personally that like Finlay is there to be the pin eater. It doesn't mean that he couldn't win; he could, but I think Finlay's there to be the pin eater, to serve these two bigger stars, and then I think we'll turn around and have, who knows? I mean, let's say Ospreay is the new champion, hypothetically. I'm not advocating for it, but they could easily have him go to AEW with the title, a la, Kenny Omega from last year, or they did the same thing with the U.S. title with Jon Moxley during the pandemic period. The other thing too is he could just drop it in February, which is what I'm leaning towards. I think that he's gonna win, and I think it's gonna be akin to when CM Punk was quote unquote leaving Ring of Honor and everyone was like, he has to lose because it's his last night. There's no way he's going to win the title.
Mm-hmm.
And then he won the title. And then the Summer of Punk kicked off because they thought it was his last show and it really wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people are thinking that this is Will's swan song, and it is his last Tokyo Dome, but it's not his last contracted date. I think he's going to win the new belt and then tease like a heel persona. I'm going to AEW. I'm taking the title with me. There's nothing any of you cunts can do about it, blah, blah, blah. And then whoever the savior is, whether it's Umino or
Tsuji,
Narita, Tsuji, blah, blah, whoever, they come and they challenge him, and then that will be like their catalyst to beat him. I think that's what's happening personally.
Yeah.
And if they don't have that booked and they're listening, you should probably do that. This is an A+ storyline. I'm feeding you right now.
That's money. Interesting thing, New Japan, they posted the Will is All Elite graphic today on their Instagram and congratulated Will and looking to working with him in the future. So clearly there is, I think, probably going to be a deal in place. I'm sure Will has a very similar contract to guys like Kenny and Jericho, and we already know that, AEW and New Japan are working closely together now. So Will probably will continue to do big shows for New Japan. This probably won't be his last Wrestle Kingdom. He'll probably still get a big match at the Tokyo Dome. He'll probably be at Dominion, some of these bigger shows. Forbidden Door, he'll be repping the AEW side, but there will still be like Will facing off against New Japan guys.
I don't think it's impossible that we continue to see that, but I'm also not that high on the idea of him constantly coming back, or even for instance, if it was once or twice a year, I would say that even that is unrealistic, because to me, all signs point to the idea that AEW has big plans for him and they plan to push him in a tip-top spot. And very often the guys that are pushed at the very, very tip-top don't come to Japan that often. Maybe they, you know what I mean? The only one you can point to that has shown up more often than probably anybody else is Jon Moxley. And it's kind of just because
he loves New Japan.
yeah, and it's John, and he's gonna do whatever the fuck he wants to do, but the other guys that you would probably put in that top tier, like Danielson's making his first trip. Jericho, we haven't seen him I think since he wrestled Tanahashi, during the first year of the company when he was still the AEW champion. I don't think he's been back since then. Kenny Omega worked once. The kind of guys that they usually let come over are the upper mid card guys, a Lance Archer comes a lot, and that's great too. But they don't really have their tip top stars available to work a lot of New Japan shows. That's why the Kenny Omega U.S. title run was such a failure last year, because he never came back.
Not coming back.
Right. So and that's why I don't discount the idea that there is a provision or a clause in his contract and they are partners, and could it happen? Sure. But they're probably going to be focused on establishing him over there. And if he blows up the way I think he probably will, I don't think we're going to see very much Will Ospreay at all. And it might be a long time personally. That's my opinion.
Yeah. He's definitely not going to do a G1 or a New Japan Cup. It's going to be Dominion or Wrestle Kingdom size shows, that if at all,
Yeah, if at all, it's going to be a Tokyo Dome or a Sumo Hall, basically.
Yeah. Or maybe if they do Royal Quest, and because he's still going to be based in the UK, maybe potentially he could do some kind of like UK New Japan show just to help him out there. So that's kind of the Will story. We had a lot of questions here on this. Dark Soldier says, Triple Threat at Wrestle Kingdom is looking very unpredictable, people. Who's going to win?
I already kind of gave my thoughts on that. I don't know if you want to add anything there, Jeremy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still kind of thinking that Will is. I still think he has the strongest chance of winning, which is weird for some people to think about. But like you mentioned, it's Will Ospreay, Jon Moxley, two guys that Tony Khan's going to want to protect, and it's David Finlay. I mean, sure, him winning, would that give him a great rub and push? Yeah, but does Tony Khan want Will Ospreay or Jon Moxley laying down for Finlay?
I do think that Chris Charlton did a good job on commentary today, sort of building up the kayfabe of this match in light of the Will Ospreay announcement. So it's very clear that New Japan, even though it was announced by AEW, they're going to work it into their promotional material. They're going to work it into their storylines, their commentary. So that's good.
Yeah. Let's see. Next question here from Les Commission 7252. New Japan lost Kenny Omega after Wrestle Kingdom. It didn't hurt them. They lost Jay White a few weeks after Wrestle Kingdom. Didn't hurt them at all. Will losing Young still on the Rise stars like Will Ospreay hurt New Japan while they are in this new journey of New Japan?
Well, I wouldn't agree with those statements personally at all. I don't think that losing Kenny Omega and Jay White were, didn't hurt the company, because I mean, the company, and it's not like those two singular things are the lone catalyst, but they are another in a series of events that have taken place over the last 3 or 4 years. Actually go back a decade, but like the company was a lot hotter 4 or 5 years ago. And some of that is the pandemic, but some of that is losing talent like this. And like, I don't think that losing your top Gaijin star is ever really a net positive. Do I think that New Japan will be okay? I do. I'm optimistic. I think that there's a lot of positive signs of things that are going on in the company. But we talked about this before. How do you replace a Will Ospreay? He literally one of the greatest generational talents that we've ever seen. And my feeling at this point is like, I don't see anybody on the roster coming behind him that can fill those shoes. So you pivot, and I think you have to offer something different. Because there's not another Will Ospreay walking through that door.
Yeah. And I think to what he's kind of really point out here, like you're mentioning, I feel like New Japan does a great job of recovering when they lose their top foreigners. We've seen this, that they lost AJ Styles and the Good Brothers. They lost Kenny Omega and in the Elite. They lost Jay White. They've always kind of been able to reload and elevate people when they kind of have this, beginning of the year exodus. And there's a ton of young talent there. They have the talent to use. Now they need to elevate them. And I know that there's nobody that can really fill Will's shoes, but this does open up a spot to push new foreigners. That they have their own foreigners. You have Gabriel Kidd, all Alex Coughlin, all the LA Dojo guys, Kevin Knight. Like they have their own tap line in the foreigners. That they have, Oscar Lube and Bolton Oleg as young lions who will be going on an excursion soon probably. So there is room and time to build and elevate new foreign stars. Yeah,
I mean, honestly, right now it's feeling like Zack Sabre Jr. is the last of the Mohicans. It kind of reminds me of like when all the pillars went to Noah except Kawada, and he was like the last guy left behind. And it's like, okay, I guess now we'll go with Kawada. And that's what it feels like. It's like, I guess now they're gonna go with Zack, and there's probably an argument that they always should have gone with Zack. They probably always should have gone with Kawada, but now here we are. And I feel like for now, right now in the immediate future, the top Gaijin in this company or the top foreigner is going to be Zack Sabre Jr., provided he doesn't leave, because it seems like they might be courting him too.
Right. And Will, he's getting to stay living in the UK. I mean, Zack could get a deal saying he can go move back to UK, stay there, or maybe just stay in Japan. Who knows? And work AEW, just fly in and work AEW every week. So, that's another guy. Yeah, like that's who we should be keeping our eyes out on for next year. He also asked, how will Ospreay signing with AEW affect United Empire? They don't feel powerful unless they really elevate Cobb like they did in the G1 years ago and push Okan as a major star, which they failed to do recently. Will the new leader be the same or better as Dave Finlay, while people are clearly still not feeling him as leader of Bullet Club?
Here's my hot take, Jeremy. I think they just should end the United Empire.
Really?
I mean, I'm not really the biggest proponent of the idea that every single faction, when it loses its leader, that it needs to thus fill the void with another guy. And sometimes that could be detrimental. Look at what's happening with Finlay. And I'm not even saying that he's a bad leader, but he's being compared incessantly to his predecessors, which is, an unfair comparison, because he's not Kenny Omega. He's not
right.
AJ Styles. In the past, when guys have left in other companies, sometimes the faction just ends,
Yeah.
Or maybe the faction can shift. It doesn't have to be the United Empire. Maybe the guys that are left over can do something different. And you create a new brand and a new star. Sure. I mean, if United Empire is, selling tons of towels and tons of shirts, then maybe you want to keep it around and you can work something up, and maybe Cobb or Okan should be the front man. Maybe you replace Ospreay. But if it was me, I would do something fresh and exciting. I would start something new with somebody else and do something new, similar to what we saw with the dissolution of Suzuki Gun this past year.
Yeah, that's definitely an option. Break them up, have guys kind of go different ways, join existing factions, start a new faction. Cause it's hard to say, all right, well, Cobb's going to be the leader. Cobb has his own strengths. I don't think him being a leader of the United Empire fits his strengths. Okan, they've failed to show that they want to do more of him. So there's not really a good, really filling choice to kind of step up and be the leader. The only other thing I can think of is maybe if you have one of the, Musketeers, one of the young guys kind of jump and take over. What if Shota Umino, with the whole connection to Will, it's all right, you're leaving, I'm taking your faction kind of thing.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think a new logo, a new name, a new brand is exciting. Is more exciting than a recycled, United Empire. Plus, it's going to be they're going to have a new United Empire over in AEW eventually, very likely.
United Empire Gold.
Yeah.
Reddit user Need Drop asks, besides money, what benefits does the partnership with AEW bring? The relationship is so one-sided now that I don't see how it helps NJPW unless the money's that good.
Well, make no mistake about it. The Forbidden Door show is a huge commercial success for both companies, and the money is good. There are benefits. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and claim that it's not a one-sided relationship. I definitely think that it is. And I guess it's, kind of funny to see New Japan get treated like Ring of Honor and get treated like Noah and other companies that they've kind of hoed over the years.
Yeah.
But that's just what it is. There are benefits, though, with talent exchanges and things like that, places for guys to go work and spend time and do things like that. There is crossover appeal, cross promotion. But at the end of the day, the big benefit is the money that is brought in from the Forbidden Door show, which is extremely lucrative for both companies. And, New Japan's financials haven't been the strongest the past couple of years. So it's not like they're in a position where they can just turn away top end money like that.
Yeah. And I think it helps them to get guys for their US shows. They've been sending over guys like Trent Beretta and Lance Archer. So getting guys like that to be able to use on some of their US shows. And I think it does kind of help elevate the New Japan brand being attached to a top American partner. They were with Ring of Honors for years and years, but now they're with a partner who's on, cable television weekly, and the pay-per-views do big, and their guys can be featured on national television.
The reality is New Japan's not in a position to compete in the West with Ring of Honor, or I'm sorry, with AEW and WWE. They would have been several years ago had they pulled the trigger to create basically what became AEW when they were in that driver's seat to do that. And they didn't, and neither did ROH. And now they kind of helped create their own competition. And yeah, they are partners with AEW, but like that ship has passed. Like, and it's one of the reasons we've heard the business comments where they're looking to expand more into Asia and other parts of the world on that side, because there is still a piece of the market that they can have in the West, but it's going to be a third tier piece of the market, competing with companies like Impact and MLW and GCW and NWA, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
They're never going to be able to compete on that level in the West with AEW and WWE because the opportunity passed them by. They didn't pull the trigger.
Yeah, we're not getting Wrestle Dynasty.
Yeah, Wrestle Dynasty's not happening.
Let's see. Lee Chang is Bay 2 says Jay, Juice, Ibushi, Archer, Kevin Kelly, and now Big Billy. New Japan has officially become a feeder system for AEW. How does it feel knowing you're wasting time covering AEW's version of NXT?
Bro, that's a mean comment. Not about New Japan. I don't give a fuck about them, but like we're not wasting our times. This is fun for us. What the fuck? Just because we like it.
Yeah, I don't think it's a waste of time, and I think that's a little bit too harsh of a critique there. I mean,
I don't think it is, Jeremy. They're a feeder system for AEW.
I mean, you can say that, but look at the situation with a lot of these guys. I mean, a lot of these guys that he mentioned here all wanted to be stateside based, like Jay, Juice, Kevin Kelly. Like all these guys, they didn't want to be traveling to Japan. Ibushi, we know his issues with New Japan, and then there's Will Ospreay, which that's probably the biggest one. That's like, all right, maybe there could have been more of a push there, but
bro, there's a million other names that he didn't even list, like the Elite, Hangman Adam Page, Cody, Chris Jericho, Moxley. Like the list goes on and on. Like there's a million guys. Like New Japan in the West is a feeder system for AEW. It's true.
Well, I think prior to that, it was WWE when you had AJ and Good Brothers and those guys leaving and Nakamura.
Yeah, New Japan facilitates a very similar role to all the Gabe Sapolsky promotions used to do back in the mid 2000s. It's very similar in that respect, and New Japan has had to do time and time again what Ring of Honor and Evolve had to do, where they lose talent and then they got to build new stars, and those big stars get signed by the big boys, and then you know what happens? They got to build up new stars. And the one positive thing that New Japan has going is that they are a Japanese domestic product, and not everybody that is under contract there and that's a star there is going to be able to translate into stardom over in the West because they're Japanese, they don't speak English. But bro, we're even seeing reports where Triple H trying to sign Okada and shit. Like,
yeah, I can get to that in the news, but yeah, I mean that's nothing new. I mean that's all.
No, it's not new.
Okada's always been on their radar, but I'm guessing maybe it's more of a focus now. But yeah, I think that with all the foreigners are always going to be targets for AEW and WWE. There's more money to be made in both of those promotions. They can stay at home. They don't have to do long tours to Japan. So I think regardless of who the foreigner is, who they build up, unless it's a guy that probably just really loves Japan, like they are always going to constantly be losing foreigners. I think there'd be more of an issue if we saw them losing the domestic talent more. If there were more Nakamura types that were leaving, like if Okada and Tanahashi and all these guys were going, I think that's the big red flag. All right, we truly are just a developmental system. But when it comes to these foreigners, I think that you got to expect at some point they're going to want to move back to the U.S. are going to want to make more money, and that's what you got to expect.
Well, money's part of it, but the other thing too is that there's certainly a glass ceiling when it comes to Western stars in New Japan. They can't be the ace. It's just never happened, and it won't happen. As far as history has told us, if it were to happen, it probably would have happened recently with like a Kenny Omega, a Jay White, or a Will Ospreay, and none of those guys could be the ace. Maybe one day something like that could happen, but there is only so high they can actually go within the New Japan system. And so that is one of the detriments to them staying there, because if they want to make that higher end money, they gotta get pushed as the main act, and they can't be the main act because the name on the marquee is New Japan, like, but at the same time, I don't think that New Japan fans should be under any illusion that this is some sort of fair, treatment of their partnership with AEW. Like, AEW is poaching New Japan's talent. It's happened time and time again, and it is just what's happening. And like, it's sort of an inevitability. I mean, how do you avoid it,
Right. I mean, cut off ties completely.
Right. I mean, and they have the high ground. They've got a lot more money behind them. They've got a higher expendable income. And it just is what it is.
Yeah. He also asks, who do you guys think Tony Khan steals next? Hopefully it's David Finlay. Please, for the love of God, take David Finlay, Tony.
If I were nervous about them taking somebody, I think
ZSJ.
I think Zach's probably the top candidate. Although I could see any number. I could see the Tongans going. I could see Phantasmo. Yep.
War Dogs.
Maybe. I mean, if I were them, I'd be looking at my options. And then even Jeff Cobb,
Oh, yeah. I think Cobb would be another, definitely an option there.
They already tried to sign him, in the early days of the company.
Yeah, he had that one-off shot in like 2019 where he was like Jericho's like monster against Moxley.
Yeah.
Then last question on this topic here from the Discord, Daddy MJ Does PR says, working in NJPW creates a ton of value for individual Western wrestlers. Think AJ, Kenny, Ospreay, Good Brothers, even guys like Lance Archer and Jonah are all in better negotiating positions since working the territory. Do you think NJPW is getting similar value out of its investments in Western talent?
I'm sorry. I started to read the next topic while you were reading, and I got lost because I'm baffled by what I just saw. I guess I didn't know about that. We'll talk about it in a second, but I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Go ahead and answer his question while I read over it.
Yeah, I don't think that New Japan is getting a similar value that these guys are getting. Like we were to mention, it's kind of a revolving door with the foreign talent. I mean, they get the value while those guys are there, but then once they're gone, I mean, they've kind of lost what they've invested.
Somewhat, but I mean, you have to think, like, how many Tokyo Dome shows did they sell off the back of Kenny Omega and AJ Styles? You know, how many big shows did they and main events did they do with guys like them and Ospreay and everything like that? I do understand the frustration with, like, let's say a Jonah, a guy that you put a bunch of money into for a short run and you push him to the top, you have him go over Okada, and then he signs with WWE in short order. You know, the juice wasn't even really worth the squeeze at that point. But like AJ, Kenny, and Will, they had them for years. They made tons and tons and tons of money off of them. And yeah, it is inevitable that they left and they go off. I do think that they get value out of them because, I mean, especially you look at Kenny Omega and the amount of money that they made over in the States based on the popularity of being the elite and the partnership with Ring of Honor and MSG show. Like, all of that stuff was based off of Kenny and the Bucks primarily. Yeah. And the Bull Club.
Yeah, so it's like they get the value while they're there, but then once it's gone, then it's like rebuilding and trying to find who the next top Westerner is going to be.
Yeah, but that's the same thing with even a domestic star. I mean, what have you done for me lately? They're only useful to you while they're making you money, and then once their run is done, their run's done.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about topic 2 that also has the internet ablaze. And
bro, I listen. I'm studying for my Series 65, so like me right now, I'm in the mode of, and there's other big things going on in my life too. I'll let you know, but between me like trying to do the show, keep up with World Tag League, keep up with my studies, and the holidays are coming. Like I don't have extracurricular time. So I did not know about this at all. Like fill me in. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah. So the NJPW Strong Openweight title is going to be unified with the Ring of Honor World title and the new AEW Continental title, all part of the Continental Classic, which kicks off this Wednesday. So the tournament.
Wait, what the fuck is the AEW Continental title?
Let me explain the whole thing. So the tournament is going to kick off this Wednesday. So on Full Gear, they said that the winner of the Continental Classic will become the first ever AEW Continental Champion. And then additionally, Eddie Kingston is going to put his ROH title and New Japan Strong title on the line in each of his tournament matches, meaning that the Continental Classic winner will hold all 3 titles and will be the first ever AEW Triple Crown champion.
Oh my God, this is so fucking stupid. Are you fucking kidding me? Ew. What the fuck? Yeah. What did they do to us?
Yeah, and the thing is too, if you even break it down, all right. So
none of this makes any sense.
So Eddie's putting his belt on the line every tournament match. So they're doing 2 blocks of 6. So what if Eddie he's like 4-0. His last match is against somebody that's not making it to the finals, and he loses the belts. Then how are they going to create the Triple Crown if he lost them to a guy that's not moving on to the finals?
Yeah, bro, that does not make any sense. So, okay, for instance, I've seen tournaments where the champion defends their title in the tournament, but only in single elimination tournaments. That makes sense because the person that beats you gets to go on to the next round and carries the title with them. I've seen Bellator do this before, but like you just brought up obviously they're not going to do what you just said.
Clearly Eddie or whoever beats Eddie is going to go to the finals.
But it's still stupid.
Yeah. And then, they're unifying it with the Ring of Honor World title. So, does ROH just not have a belt anymore? And then they're creating this new AEW Continental title.
So New Japan Strong will not have a title anymore. And Ring of Honor will not have a title.
So the idea is that the Triple Crown champion will defend it in all 3 promotions.
That will never happen. You know how this shit works.
I'm just saying that's what they're saying.
But you know how it works. They say one thing, and it's all wrestling companies. They're like, the purpose of this title is to do this. And then, even if they start out doing that, it's going to, whatever it is that they stipulate, it's going to change. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, they're unifying it with a title that doesn't even fucking exist yet. So you got one title that's really fucking prestigious in the ROH World title. I mean, granted, it's seen better days, but like that lineage, sick.
Yeah. Then
you got the Strong title, which is like a newer title. I wouldn't put it on the same like stage as like the ROH title, but whatever. It's had some good champions. And then you got a new belt. That's the AEW Continental belt. They might as well just call it Intercontinental title. And it's we've never seen it, and no one's ever held it. And it's gonna get the same level of prestige as these other 2 titles. Like they just want to have a Triple Crown title because Tony tape traded it back in the days, and he just really fucking likes All Japan. Like this is fucking stupid. There's another thing: the winner of this tournament doesn't get to go on and fight the world champion they get a consolation prize and they actually get moved out of the main event scene. So the tournament itself is less important. Why would I tune in for this shit?
Yeah.
I'm not watching it. I'm serious. I'm not watching it. Like, I already don't watch the show. I thought about watching it, but after that tweet that Tony Khan put about put your fucking money or whatever, and then this shit, like, not watching it. Fuck off.
I'm still going to watch it. There probably still going to be some great matches. You know, so far, Bryan Danielson, Eddie Kingston, Andrade, and Mark Briscoe are announced. The rest of the field. What?
That's a horrible lineup.
Bryan, Andrade, Kingston, and Mark Briscoe?
Yes, because this tournament should have, if it's going to be like a G1 equivalent and there's only 12 spots, then there shouldn't be guys that are really good but not top stars. It should be like literally, they have their talent roster is so fucking deep that there should not be room. And this is not to disparage these guys. I'm not saying they're not great wrestlers. They are. But Andrade and Mark Briscoe should not be in a tournament like that. It should be like guys like Kenny Omega, MJF, Will Ospreay, people like that.
Mox.
And Mox. Exactly. Stuff like Hangman, Swerve. It shouldn't be upper mid-card guys.
Well, I feel like they've been kind of trying to push Andrade as a main event guy on Collision. I can see the argument for Mark Briscoe, but hey, somebody's got to be the pin eater in these blocks, and he's going to have good matches every night and eat some losses. The rest of the field's going to be announced on Wednesday on YouTube. They're doing like a March Madness kind of selection kind of gimmick thing. Yeah, well,
they don't know who the fuck's in it today,
right? Yeah. I had a question here from Reddit user Knee Drop. Will Gabe Kidd still get his title shot?
Who the fuck knows?
Yeah, I don't think that's coming anytime soon. Stale Burger Bun says, is it time to panic about the NJPW AEW partnership yet? Shall I get my pitchfork ready?
I mean, yeah, it's shitty.
Yeah.
The partnership is shitty. Like, and I've been complaining about the partnership almost the whole time. The one really cool thing that we get is we do get big dream matches at Forbidden Door. We got the awesome Danielson and Zach match, and you know sometimes we'll get big Tokyo Dome style matches like Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay last year. We're getting Okada and Danielson, but by and large, New Japan gets hoed.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what happens when you're not, you know, the A side of the relationship. I mean, you know, we see them. They did that to Ring of Honor. They're doing that to Pro Wrestling Noah currently. When you're not the A side, like you kind of have to bend the knee to the A side of the relationship.
Yeah, it's nasty business.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what's happening with the Strong Openweight title. So we'll see what happens.
Yo, that sucks. Say goodbye to Strong and Ring of Honor. This is the death knell.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, I'm not even sad about if those go away.
I mean, I'm not really either, but I'm like, all right, so it's just so convoluted and stupid.
Yeah, like like you said, I don't get what the obsession is with creating this Triple Crown. Like they teased it with Eddie versus Shibata. Like if Eddie had won the Pure title, he would have created a Triple Crown, and now they're.
But remember when I mentioned, I'm like, how does that work? The Pure title's contested under Pure rules. They're just not going to fight under. Are all matches going to be under Pure rules at that point? Like that didn't make sense either.
Yeah. So yeah, really kind of questionable booking and planning, and so yeah, clearly the Strong title, it's just not going to be, I guess, important.
Also, fucking AEW doesn't need another fucking title, bro.
Right.
What? They have so many titles. What are they doing? Ugh.
Bro, I do not know. Dude, Tony Khan's been killed and cloned. Like,
nah, bro. Put down the coke, bro.
Oh, man. All right, last thing here that we'll cover before we jump into talking about some shows. The Stone Pit Bull, Tomohiro Ishii, voted into the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Hall of Fame. Big Tom-ish receiving 60% of the votes. after years and years of campaigning from wrestling fans across the world, the holders of ballots for the Observer newsletter have finally listened, and the Stone Pitbull, Tomohiro Ishii, now in the Hall of Fame.
Well, I've sent this tweet out several times from our account, but it says in the criteria that, historical significance, drawing ability, and, work rate, or, catalog of great matches. These are the types of things like that need to be considered for someone to be Hall of Fame worthy. And it says that somebody could be so exceptional in just one area that it would warrant consideration for candidacy. And, Tomohiro Ishii, never been a world champion, never been a main event guy, never been the top star. He's been in main events, but he's never been a promotional guy that you push an entire major company behind. And he's never been someone that has drawn significant amounts of money. So, these things are not something that would fit the criteria. But when you look at his match catalog, if we have that rule where someone can be so outstanding in terms of work that they need to be considered for candidacy, and I mentioned this in my tweet, nobody fits the bill stronger than Tomohiro Ishii as being a guy that's so fantastic as a worker that even though he's not a top star, even though he's not a main event guy, he needs to be in the Hall of Fame based on his body of work. And you look at how many great matches he's had, and he needs to be in. I never thought he was actually going to get in, and I'm shocked. The jump he took, I don't know what caused it. I have no idea. But
this year more than ever, I've seen a lot of other wrestling outlets. Pretty much every wrestling site had an author that was writing about why Tomohiro Ishii should be in the Hall of Fame. I know a lot of people did audio and podcasts. There seemed to be a really big campaign this year to explain why somebody like Tomohiro Ishii should be voted in. So yeah, I saw tons of columns, tons of articles, podcasts, tons of tweets. So I think all that, and then I think the Observer voters kind of seeing that stuff and doing their own research and seeing Tomohiro Ishii's body of work. His in-ring is so great. Yeah, he was never the ace. He wasn't pushed. He has a main event at the Tokyo Dome, but you look at his body of work, the never title runs, his G1s, this guy is just a next level performer, and he's still kicking as he's getting older and his body is breaking down. He's still having bangers. So yeah, he's just a truly exceptional in-ring talent. But I mean, can you imagine what if Gato decided to actually push him and he was a main eventer? He would have been in the Hall of Fame way before.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if that would have worked or not, but yeah, if it had worked, certainly. But I'm glad. I think it's well deserved. Congratulations, and I'm glad I now have a team name for the current reigning Never Openweight 6-man tag team champions, Team Hoff.
That's right. All three Never 6-man Open champions are all in the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame.
Yes, and they're also in the Hall of Fame of our hearts.
All right, well, let's move on now to New Japan Road. And Mother says, is there any better road than the New Japan Road? I don't think so.
Road.
Yeah, so we had a New Japan Road show Friday, November 17th from Yagata Big Wing show. Opened up actually with an angle. We had Ren Narita, Ryusuke Taguchi, and Tomioka Hanuma coming out. This was in Hanma's hometown. And we had talked about last week, they had challenged Team Hall of Fame backstage previously. And so they were coming out here to, are they getting a title match or nah? And Tanahashi came out on behalf of the champions, accepted the challenge. And so it was set for the semi-main event. The Never 6-man titles would be on the line.
Yeah, I had to watch this in Japanese only. So I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I think it's happening.
Then the first match on the card, we had Satoshi Kojima, Togi Makabe, and Hiroshi Tenzan defeating Bolton Oleg, Oscar Loibe, and Yuto Nakashima, 6 minutes and 20 seconds.
Very quick thoughts. I love when they have the lions against the dads. It's a lot more interesting to me than when it's like a some Lions on each side teaming up with veterans. I think when you have just the Lions on one side teaming up against the veterans and they're allowed to kind of get more and be given more, it's very, very interesting. And Oleg Bolton like fucking tossed Kojima. Like,
bro,
it was awesome.
He did the gut wrench kind of gimmick where he was like flipping like gut wrench sides with Kojima.
Bro, Togi Makabe took like 3 or 4 bumps in this match. Like, he was working really, really hard. At the finish of the match, though, Kojima, I think it was Yuto Nakashima.
Yeah, it was Yuto.
He gave him a strongest lariat, but he just fucking decked him in the face as hard as he could. Like,
like out of nowhere, it's like came back,
hit him in the face,
barreling it. Oh man, so yeah, good opener there. Then followed by that, we had Master Wato and Toru Yano defeating the Bullet Club team of Gato and Taiji Shimori by disqualification, 7 minutes and 9 seconds.
Comedy bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, nothing really to sink your teeth into there. Then following that, we had Bishamon, Hiroki Goto, first time back in a while since suffering his injury. So Bishamon teaming up with Yo to defeat the United Empire team of Callum Newman, Great Okan, and Hanare.
Bishamon's back, baby.
Yeah, I thought Goto looked really good coming back from injury. I'm glad that Callum Newman has been hasn't left Japan yet. He's been on all these tours, getting work, getting better, getting bigger. He's a guy that, you want to look at future foreign stars you need to push. Like, I think he's a guy that, as he continues to develop, is going to be a guy that you want to capitalize on and really push. So then following that, we had Minoru Suzuki, Shota Umino, Tiger Mask, and Yuji Nagata defeating the LIJ team of Bushi, Hiromu Takahashi, Shingo Takagi, and Yota Tsuji.
Yeah, this was good. Very, very interesting to kind of see Suzuki teaming up with what's wrong with me?
Nagata.
Well, not just Nagata, but bro, I don't know what's wrong with me.
Umino?
What's the name?
Tiger Mask?
Yeah, but like, what group are they all part of?
Strong Style.
No, what is the larger unit?
Oh, Hantai.
Yeah, to see them teaming up with Hantai is like super strange.
Yeah. And we kind of got like, the seeds planted of the story that we're going to see in World Tag League. Suzuki Nagata, can they coexist? Can they, career-long rivalry be put aside for them to actually win matches?
A lot of stuff with Umino and Tsuji in this match too. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. So yeah, good match here. They get the win. So it takes the next match. We had the House of Torture. All their members, Shiktogo, Evil, Yujiro, and Kanemaru, defeating the Just Five Guys team of Doki, Sanada, Taka, and Yuya Uemura.
The one thought I had is like, I know that Naito's off the tour, but it kind of sucks seeing Sanada, who's about to headline the Tokyo Dome, still facing off with House of Torture. Like, yeah. We're still doing this? All right.
Yeah, that kind of felt like that was kind of flat. It's like, all right, can we move on? Can we do something different? And then we got to the semi-main event here. So the Never Openweight 6-man Tag Team Championships were on the line. Team Hall of Fame, Kazuchika Okada, Tomohiro Ishii, and Hiroshi Tanahashi. They defeated Ren Narita, Ryusuke Taguchi, and Tomioka Hanma, 25 minutes and 37 seconds.
Yo, I talked some shit last week where I was like, I guess we should make mention of it again. It is November 20th. It is the first day of the World Tag League, and we are officially in the first calendar day of Keeping It Strong Style's 2024 voting period. 2023's voting period has closed officially with the start of the World Tag League today. But I talked some shit last week where I was like, don't see anything happening on New Japan Road that might get any kind of consideration. And then these motherfuckers come out here and put in this kind of performance in the 6-man tag team match, and they blew me away, bro. Like, this match just freaking ruled.
Yeah,
like,
it was great.
I don't know what's going to make it for sure, but I have a strong feeling that this defense might make it onto tag team match of the year consideration for our awards. And bro, Okada, Ishii, and Tanahashi, like this has got to be like the best tag team, or this got to be like the best title defense or like title run for the entire calendar year of any champion, including Zack Sabre Jr., who I hold in very high regard. Like their string of defenses and high quality matches has been untouched this year.
Yeah, these guys, their defenses have been great. They're definitely going to get a vote from me for a tag team of the year in our awards.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think, bro, they might be tag team of the year.
Yeah.
They probably are.
Because, yeah, we do put 6-man tag teams in that category. So, yeah,
we do. Yeah, we do. And I hadn't even thought, but because there are 3 individuals, I hadn't thought of that. They're going to probably win.
Yeah. But this was great here. Like I mentioned earlier, this was in Hanma's hometown. So you had, dickhead Okada healing it up. You had Tanahashi healing it up and getting heat on these guys. And of course, Ishii, he's just doing his thing. He's in there, just going to smash whoever. And yeah, they built up a lot of emotion. I mean, the parts where Hanma was coming back and he's hitting the Kokeshis. He's hitting the Kokeshi on Okada. He hits the top rope Kokeshi. The crowd is going wild. They want to see the hometown boy pull the upset. And, it's like one of those things where like, yeah, it's probably unlikely that they were going to beat these guys, but it's the never 6-man titles. Like Ishii, I feel like can get pinned by anybody. Like Tanahashi in this stage, like he could get like a banana peel, like roll up and lose and it'd be okay. So like I think there was actually like a plausible chance that Taguchi, Narita, and Hanma could have won.
Yeah, they really did start to get me on some of those near falls down the stretch because, like you mentioned, that's the thing with the never 6-man tag team titles. You don't have to be a prestigious team to win it. It's the never openweight 6-man tag team belts. It could be anybody. So it really felt like maybe they were doing something kind of cool and unique, and with it being in Hanma's hometown and the crowd being behind them, like you just never know. Maybe we're about to see like a Rudy / Rocky underdog kind of upset sort of situation, and it didn't pan out that way. But like, damn, they like pushed the champions to their limit. The match was awesome. The interactions with Narita and Ishii like were incredible. Okada playing quasi heel because he kind of knew that he needed to facilitate that role, and he sort of stepped into that black hat kind of role that he had earlier in the calendar year. Like that side started coming through, which that's my favorite Okada. I'm not.
Oh yeah, like I don't get why they totally abandoned that whole story of him kind of being that Jumbo Saruda, and taking on all the young guys. Like, yeah, he's best when he's in that kind of heelish, I'm better than you, I'm going to underestimate you kind of role.
I loved when, like, about 18 minutes in the match, Okada went for the Rainmaker and on Hanma, and Hanma did the Kokeshi.
Oh,
out.
Yes.
It was so sick. Like, and what's funny? Like, if you go in cage match, no one watched this. No one rated this.
Yeah,
this
dude.
match ruled. Like, ruled.
Yeah, I think if you missed this show, you need to fire up, download your new NJPW World app on your phone or whatever, and you need to go to New Japan Road and watch this semi-main event.
Yeah. Down the stretch, though, who was it? It was
Narita and Tanahashi. And Narita, he was hitting the Northern Lights suplexes, and he was going for one more, but then Tanahashi caught him with a inside cradle. 1, 2, 3. Team Hall of Fame retains.
Yeah, and I have seen a couple reviews from like Chris Vetter and a couple independent guys, and like they didn't really love this match the way I did. I don't get it. I fucking love this match. I thought it was awesome. I love this title reign. Like I'm really into it, and Ren Narita kind of looked like he might have had Tanahashi's number there, and I was like, yeah, let's fucking do it. Put over Narita. But I guess Tanahashi is like Bret Hart these days. Like he can just catch someone with the roll up anytime.
Yeah, and also he kind of like DDT'd Narita into the roll up too. It looked pretty.
Remember, he was doing that during the G1.
Yeah.
So also, I guess he's mid 2000s Bryan Danielson, just gonna
That's
small
right.
package
Small package. Yep. So that. Oh, actually, yeah. One more. I forgot about the main event. So the main event of the show was for the provisional KOPW Championship. It was a special guest referee match after stipulation that won the fan vote. So Yoshinobu Kanemaru was a special ref, but regardless of that, Taichi was able to overcome and defeat Sho.
Well, that's not it. Kanemaru was the special guest referee, and then they stipulated that he was also not allowed to use the Saito suplex. He wasn't allowed to use the Black Mephisto. He wasn't allowed to use any sumo-style moves. And Sho was also banned from hitting the Shooting Star Press and the Phoenix Splash. But but yeah, Taichi was still able to overcome, even though the entire deck was stacked against him.
Oh man, yeah. This was what you expect from a heel being a special ref, and the babyface is limited to do moves, and on this kind of show with the KOPW, I'm like, whatever. Like,
yeah, it's KOPW. It's where were they? Hamaguchi or whatever. Where the fuck were they?
Yamagata Big Wing.
Yeah, they're in Yamagata, bro. Like, it's a road. It's New Japan Road. It's not even road to anywhere. It's just road. Like, and the crowd did enjoy it. They had a good time. I'm not going to sit here and bullshit you and tell you that this was a classic by any means, but it did have some good comedy spots. There was good heat. Down the stretch, Sho ended up pulling out the wrench, and he hit Kanemaru with the wrench on accident, which meant there was no referee. This kind of brought in all the members of the two factions. They kind of canceled each other out. And eventually just came down to Taichi and Sho, and Taichi was able to hit him with the last ride power bomb and, his pin. And at that point, Red Shoes came in and counted for the 1, 2, 3. So ultimately, we got a redemption story where Taichi overcame the odds. But all throughout the match, when Kanemaru, it was funny. Like, Kanemaru,
great job.
He did a great job as a bad guy guest referee, because he literally did every heelish dick thing that you could possibly do as a referee. Where like he would be counting for Sho and he'd be like 1, 2.
Or like when they were on the outside and like doing the count for Taichi, he was like 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5.
At one point, Sho like left Taichi out in the far reaches of the crowd, like buried under a bunch of shit, and like he's doing the slow count for Sho. And as soon as Sho, because they're both out there, but as soon as Sho gets through the ring and they're like at 6, he's like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and like all of a sudden Taichi's like, oh shit.
Dude,
there was a lot of other funny stuff like that too. Like, it was fine.
Yeah, it's like if you ever play like the SmackDown games and you are the referee for the match, you can control it. Like,
bro, when I was a referee, I beat everybody up.
Just hit your finisher on everybody.
This isn't something where I'm like, go out of your way to see it. I am glad that Taichi picked up his big KOPW win at the end of the year. I don't know if they're going to do another one, probably, but as it stands now, it looks like he's probably going to wind up being the true KOPW champion at the end of the year. And the wrong was righted. For most people, I would say, if this doesn't sound like it's your cup of tea, just skip it. There's no reason for you to watch it, but I thought it was okay. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
fine.
Yeah. All right, then moving on from that, today we had the opening night of World Tag League, which saw the A block in action. So we were from Cork and Hall. Today's show was free on NJPWWorld.com. So if you haven't checked it out, you can check it out for free on the website, on the app. And so we'll start at the top here. So at the beginning of the show, we had a pre-show match with a new young lion making his debut, Shoma Kota. And he ate and lost to Oscar Loibe in 4 minutes and 37 seconds.
Yeah, very, very interesting. The first time we've ever gotten to see Shoma Kota. Very short match. He kind of just got ate up by Oscar Luebe. He showed a lot of good fire. The best thing he did through the match was do the patented Young Lion drop kick. And that was the one chink in the armor of Oscar where he kind of sold and showed that he was dazed. But I don't think Oscar Luebe ever took a bump in this match. He was never in any kind of like danger. He was never in any submission holds. And then he just beat Shoma Kota summarily in under 5 minutes. So very, very dominant match on behalf of Oscar Luebe, being with the power slam.
Yeah, Oscar hit a big power slam there. So, now we're seeing him, starting to use a move as a finish. And I tweeted this out today. Like, I'm putting all my Young Lion stocks in Oscar. I think he's awesome, and I'm ready for him to like go on excursion and re-debut. Like, I think he's going to be a big star.
We're at a point now too where it's fine for a guy like Shoma Kota to come in and kind of pay his dues as a Lion, because we've graduated so many guys recently that there's kind of like a little bit of it's going to be some time before one of these Young Lion trainees that comes up is actually going to go on an excursion again. It's going to be a couple of years. So I'm fine with him sort of having to, go through these perilous waters in the early days.
Yeah. So then the main card kicked off. We had Atlantis Jr. and Soberano Jr. defeating the Just Five Guys team of Doki and Taka Michinoku.
So I wasn't paying attention, and I was like, oh, we're getting tournament action all night, like right from the very beginning. And I didn't even think like about the idea that Doki and Taka are like juniors. And I was like, hell yeah, Team CMLL versus Doki and the legend Taka. Like, this is a great way to kick off this tournament. Maybe I was a little too harsh on this tournament. And then they went out there and they had a really cool, high-flying, fast action. I was like, this is a great way to open the tournament. Like, this is fantastic. And then, Atlantis Jr. and Soberano Jr. picked up the win. And then I was like, oh, they didn't get points. That was not tournament action.
Yeah, so a little, tune-up, warm-up match for Team CMLL. But yeah, it was a really fun match going up against Doki and Taka. Like, I don't know what's gotten into Taka, but he's just been super motivated since Super Junior Tag League. And, Doki is Doki and he loves wrestling. Lucha guys from CMLL trying to prove that, he is the real luchador, not these top guys that come in from CMLL.
Well, sometimes you see people like work their way into a situation. Like, for instance, like, look at the whole thing with, and this is just, it's not quite the exact same thing, but like, look at Bishamon. Like, that was two guys that were kind of thrown together, and you didn't necessarily see that like being a thing that could work long term. And then they're the premier tag team, and they've carved a niche out for themselves. Maybe like these two guys are sort of looking at the field, and they're like, where we could really like establish ourselves is like as a top end tag team. And we've seen Kanemaru do something similar to that when he was in Suzuki-gun. So maybe they're kind of like, if we really bust our asses and like really put in the effort, like we could be one of the premier like junior tag team guys, and then that would be their thing. So I'm kind of hoping that works out for them. Yeah,
that'd be cool. But yeah, I thought Soberano and Atlantis looked good here. They did mention on commentary Soberano's recent heel turn, and that this would be kind of interesting to see how Soberano and Atlantis would team up. But there was no dissension here. They teamed up just fine, and Soberano didn't seem heelish at all.
Technicos.
Yes. And Soberano did a lot of cool high flying, and eventually Atlantis got Taka up in the torture rack to get the win. Then following that, we had Monster Sauce, Alex Zane, and Lance Archer teaming up with Minoru Suzuki and Yuji Nagata, and they defeated the Bullet Club team of Bad Luck Fale, Gato, Jack Bonza, and the Bone Soldier Taiji Ishimori.
Yeah, Fale and Archer definitely got into it. Jack Bonza and Alex Zane got into it. Fine match. I'm loving the Monster Sauce tag team. I'm loving Nagata and Suzuki as a team. I don't give a fuck about anything having to do with this iteration of Bullet Club. And we move on.
It's funny, the announcements, it's like, all right, Bullet Club, War Dogs, Gato, Bullet Club, Rogue Army, Bonza, Bullet Club, Taiji. It's like there's so many splinters of Bullet Club, like in just like one matchup here. Yeah, but it was a fine matchup there. We did see the can they coexist with Nagata and Suzuki. They are in the B block. So they will have their first match on the 21st in the league, but yeah, they're still kind of having a hard time getting along. But their team did get the win for the match here when Nagata tapped out Gato with the Nagata lock number 2. So then moving on from there, we had the Just 5 Guys team of Sonata, Taichi, and Yuya Uemura defeating the LIJ team of Bushi, Yota Tsuji, and Tsuji's mystery partner Zandokan Jr.
Bro, Zandokan Jr. is a ringer, bro.
Dude, he's huge.
He's huge and he's very good. And I know he's supposed to be like a pretty like new trainee, but like I kind of thought he was being brought in as like Tsuji's pin eater. And I'm not saying that still won't play itself out. It probably will. But it seems like Rocky and whoever else like that's in charge of like scoping out talent from CMLL that they like scouted this guy and they brought him in for a reason because he's not. I'm not used to this because normally during World Tag League when they bring in a guy, it's like El Terrible or something, you know, and you're just like, oh, okay, he's here, like you know, it's whatever.
Yeah.
But this is somebody that's like, oh, this might be the future of fucking wrestling.
Yeah, I've heard good things about him in CMLL, and you know him and Tsuji did have a little friendship with Tsuji's time and his excursion in CMLL. So yeah, so kind of our first look here of Zandokan Jr. And yeah, I thought he looked great. You know, there were some issues there between him and Taichi. Taichi didn't want to shake his hand towards the beginning part of the match there. But yeah.
Well, they mentioned that the night prior during a live event that he had injured Taichi, and you saw the huge giant.
Yeah, the chop.
He had welts.
Yeah,
he had giant welts all over his chest, and on the commentary, Chris Charlton was like, underneath his breath, he's like, "Who the fuck is this guy? Like, like why do I have to face him?" And kind of teasing that maybe Zandokan Jr. has you know, his sights set on the KOPW title, maybe, possibly.
Yeah, maybe. So.
Also, world champion Sonata was there.
Yeah. So yeah, LIJ or the Just 5 Guys team, they get the win here. Yuya hitting the deadbolt on Bushi. So then from there we had the Guerrillas of Destiny team of ELP, Hikuleo, and Jado. They defeated Bishamon and Yo in 10 minutes and 2 seconds.
Yeah, big preview match for the champion versus champions main event from Cork and Hall later tomorrow when this show is published. So by the time you're listening to this, you'll probably already know who won that match.
Yeah, so that was another good matchup there. And then we got into league action here. So the first A block match of the evening was TMDK team of Mad Mikey Nichols and Hysterical Shane Hayes, along with the Ichiban Sweet Boy Kosei Vegeta. They defeated the Gates of Agony, Bishop Khan, and Toa Leona from AEW.
Yeah, 10 minutes, 52 seconds. I thought this was a very good first match of the tournament. You know, I really haven't seen a lot of Gates of Agony, and I felt like TMDK did a great job working with them, giving them a lot of opportunities to kind of showcase themselves and kind of shine, and they did a great job selling for them. And Gates of Agony kind of came in there and sort of just beat the piss out of TMDK for a lot of the match and kind of looked like the monsters that they're purported to be. So I thought it was a good first match of the tournament. You know, in typical New Japan fashion on big shows like this, you sort of look for the upset. So I was sort of thinking that maybe the Gates of Agony would pick up a big win over TMDK here. It didn't happen. TMDK were able to kind of divide and conquer down the tail stretch, but Gates of Agony had a great accounting of themselves here. This is a very solid match.
Yeah, similar to you, I thought that Gates of Agony were going to get a win here to kind of establish themselves in this block and to be a team to look out for. But yeah, TMDK got the win. But yeah, like you said, they looked good. They had some cool kind of like war attire for their entrance, kind of linking back to both of their cultures. And yeah, very hard hitting matchup here. Yeah, TMDK had to use their experience and their speed to kind of outmaneuver these guys, and so they were finally able to hit the tank buster onto Bishop Khan to get the win. So then from there, we had the House of Torture team, Evil and Yujiro Takahashi. They defeated the team of Tomohiro Ishii and Toru Yano in 9 minutes and 16 seconds.
Every win that House of Torture picks up makes me basically raises my blood pressure a little bit and raises my stress level. And, I'm going to need them to take some losses so I can, just be a little bit more chill, a little bit calmer, and not have to worry about the possibility. Because with this year's tournament, with the idea that the top 2 guys get through, I just don't, I don't think I can stomach another semifinal with House of Torture involvement. Like, I just don't think I can stomach that. And it feels like this was a big win because, Ishii and Yano are usually players in this tournament. Them taking a big loss to House of Torture is not a good sign. Yeah,
there was a lot of shenanigans. There were several times where Ishii and Yano had the match won and the ref would get pulled out. House of Torture, it was...
how's that not an automatic DQ? There's so many bad things that happen in wrestling, and I hate to be the guy. I've brought this up on the show so many times, but the one thing that I just don't think should ever be allowed is the referee getting pulled out of the ring. I don't know how that, of all things, is not an automatic just DQ. It should just never happen in wrestling.
Right. Yeah, I think it makes the refs look less credible. It makes the whole the match, the promotion. Yeah, it's a bad look. So. Yeah, you had Yano hitting a low blow here. He did the schoolboy near fall. The ref gets pulled out by Nick Togo. Then they come in and jump him. Kanemaru and Sho come in. Kanemaru sprays the Torii whiskey in Yano's face. And then Evil hits the Everything is Evil STO on Yano to get the pin. Yay.
You notice I didn't... I gave you my thoughts on the match, but I didn't break down the match in any way whatsoever.
Skip.
Yeah.
Semi-main event, we had the Bullet Club War Dogs of Alex Coughlin and Gabe Kidd defeating Kaito Kiyomiya and Rei Oiwa by countout. Oh, actually, no, it was the other way around, actually. It was Kiyomiya and Oiwa defeating the War Dogs by countout.
Kiyomiya and Oiwa picked up the 2 points. They defeated the War Dogs on the first night. This was, I guess, somewhat, maybe. It's hard to tell if it's an upset or not. I don't really know how we should view Kiyomiya at the end of 2023 in New Japan. It's really hard to, there's a time where I would have said he was the favorite to win this just based on the fact that he's an ace level guy, but I don't know what the fuck's going on. Anyways, this match was my match of the night. This fucking ruled. I was recently listening to another podcast and they were previewing this tournament. They brought up the War Dogs and they're just like, I'm over their bullshit and their shtick and blah, blah. And I was like, they probably got a good point. Like, I can't remember the last time I was really into what these guys are doing. And then this match happened and they came out there and they just started brawling. And this was violent from the get-go. And like them against Kiyomiya and Oiwa, but specifically, all of them, but even more so Kiyomiya and Gabe Kidd, and this kind of feeds into the ongoing feud that they had during the G1. But even prior to that, those radio comments that Gabe Kidd had made about Kiyomiya and him doing the cross-legged sitting in the middle of the ring, and like these guys have had heat going back like a couple years now, and it all came to a head here, and they were just fucking each other's shit up. It was awesome. The crowd was so into it. I was like here in my office, just like, this is what I want to see. And then I really thought that the Bullet Club War Dogs, these are 2 guys that like they've had a few big opportunities. They gave them, the strong openweight tag team titles this past year. They were in the G1, but they even when they've been brought up to the main, I don't want to say main roster, but like New Japan proper roster, they've kind of always felt like they're still kind of working within the parameters of like, during the G1, like Coughlin was like a pin eater guy, and his every night his way of getting over was doing some big powerful move because he was going to lose almost all the matches in the tournament. And Gabe Kidd's shtick was like basically attacking people before the show because he wasn't going to get a lot of points because they're kind of like inferior to David Finlay within the parameters of that tournament. This is the first time that I feel like this tag team was allowed to just go out there and be themselves and actually work the way they want to work. And we always talk about guys in tournaments like this, like seizing their opportunity and showcasing what they can do. That's what Coughlin and Kidd were doing. They were kicking serious ass. Like there were so many cool spots in this match. And then the finish, you know, Jeremy, I get a bad rap sometimes because I'm a fan of vintage wrestling from the 80s and the 70s, and there's a lot of non-finishes. But I've always said that when you do, like, say, for instance, like here, like a count-out finish the right way, when it's built the right way, it can be super satisfying and also draw more money down the line. And that's what they did. They did a finish here that was super heated and wasn't a cop-out and played into the story and then led to more heat afterwards. And regardless of what happens in this tournament, they've got business down the road between Gabe Kidd and Kiyomiya.
Yeah.
And it's going to be fucking awesome whenever that happens.
Yeah, Gabe Kidd tweeted out today he wants Kiyomiya either at the January 2nd Noah show or January 4th in the Tokyo Dome.
Or January 6th at the Capitol.
But yeah, dude, I'm right
Capital
here.
Collision.
the real Capital Collision.
The real Capital Collision.
No, but I'm right there with you. I love this match. You know, the brawling at the beginning, you know, the War Dogs come out first, and then Kiyomiya and Oiwa are coming out, and Gabe Kidd's like, he's ready to run it. He's trying to get that to Kiyomiya, and the Young Lions are trying to hold him back. You know, both and Oleg's trying to push back Kiyomiya, but yeah, they eventually, you know, get in the ring. They just start going at it, running it, and dude, they were exchanging some hard, stiff strikes, especially on the outside. Like Kiyomiya and Kidd were slapping the crap out of each other, and then there was one point where like Coughlin slapped the crap out of Oiwa.
Coughlin was kicking the shit out of Oiwa.
And like they were exchanging like big chops on the outside. So yeah, this was just a brutal, stiff, hard hitting, like hate filled matchup. And you know, I thought Oiwa, you know, he's on an excursion in Noah. I thought he looked good in the matchup. You know, he's kind of developing more of his look. And him and Kiyomiya were actually a pretty good team. They were hitting these like really great like tandem double drop kicks. So yeah, they're kind of gelling and becoming a team pretty well. So yeah, this was a really fun, entertaining, hard-hitting matchup. I agree if you stole the show. Like, if you're going to watch one match from this card, you got to watch the semi-main event. And yeah, I totally agree with you about the finish. You know, a lot of people like, you know, will probably be like, well, why don't you just have Kiyomiya pin Kidd or Kiyomiya pin Coughlin or whatever? But, you know, this plays from the G1. You know, they had the double count out in the G1. Now you have the count out win here from Kiyomiya. You still haven't pinned or submitted either of these guys. Like you said, this leaves the door open for a bigger money match. And personally, I think that they should do it at Wrestle Kingdom.
The brawl afterwards that continued in the fallout from the match, it just kept going and going and going. And it felt very real and very heated. I mean, this was kind of like a small taste, a little bit of like what we got from Okada and Kiyomiya earlier in January this past year. So
yeah, but
yeah, I'm all for this.
This feels more hate-filled than that.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. And then that brought us to the main event of the evening. Ren Narita and Shota Umino, they defeated the United Empire team of Great Okan and Hanare in 24 minutes and 40 seconds.
Very good match. Very good main event style tag team match that you would expect at the top of a Corkin for World Tag League. One thing I didn't like, down the stretch, the United Empire team just kept hitting major finishes, and Ren Narita and Shota Umino kept either saving each other or kicking out, and which is fine. But I think they went a little bit too far with that. They just kept doing it. And eventually it started to feel a little bit like I'm not believing that they really should even be kicking out. Like this should be the end here. Mm-hmm. And it kind of made United Empire, instead of like making The new Musketeer guys look stronger. It made United Empire look less credible, in my opinion. I think they went a little bit past the peak. But aside from that, just from the general match itself, this was very, very good. I thought all four guys worked really well together. Narita and Umino picking up a win on the first night. I was a little surprised by that because, again, I was sort of expecting them to eat an early loss and maybe have to kind of work their way back because they are my picks and favorites to come out of the block, even win the tournament. But they picked up the win here after 24 minutes, and it's a very good match. I still like the match prior to it better, but in terms of like what's technically like the quote unquote, better main event style match, this might be it, but I preferred the match prior to it, but this was very good.
Yeah, I also prefer the semi-main, but yeah, this was a really good match. I feel like Umino, his reactions, there's a ton of shoulder chants, and people are really kind of getting behind him when he was in peril of the match. There were a ton of pink glow sticks in the crowd. It seems like everything after that Will Ospreay match, like he has been elevated, and I just feel so much more like confidence oozing off of him. Even his post-match promo, I felt like there was just a lot of confidence in what he was saying, and he mentioned he was disappointed that it was not a sold out house, and they're the future of New Japan. They're planning that to elevate the division and making sure that there's going to be sold out buildings. So I thought his promo was good. A lot of confidence from both these guys, and yeah, they're really kind of gelling these guys together. They released this like fireside chat thing where they're talking about their history in the dojo and talking about they could be great spouses for each other. So it was a really interesting interview there. But yeah, I'm digging what we're getting here so far of Umino and Narita. So
we're back into the horniness of New Japan, where guys secretly like want to fuck each other.
Yeah, Umino and Narita from that chat, it seems like they they love each other.
Got it.
So A block standings after night one, we got the Musketeers, Kiyomiya and Oiwa, House of Torture, TMDK, all with 2 points, and then United Empire, War Dogs, Chaos, and Gates of Agony, all with 0 points. Then we had a couple questions here from the Dark Soldier. What would you guys say would be a way to improve World Tag League? Easy answer is to book the tag division better, but I guess I'm looking for a different kind of answer.
I'm not going to answer this question because of the fact that I feel like this is the first time in several years where New Japan has really put their best foot forward with presenting the World Tag League, and they've made improvements that are verifiable and easy to point to. Now, if as the tournament goes on, it doesn't play out the way we're optimistically hoping it will, then I'll retract. But right now, I think that they've already made some positive changes, and I'm not going to suggest they do more than what they've already done this year right now.
Yeah, I think we mentioned this on the show last week when Chris is on. I feel like this is the best World Tag League lineup that has happened since we've been doing the show. We started 2017 right before that World Tag League, so we've watched them all since then, and this I think is one of the better lineups, and there's a lot of fresh teams. They brought in a lot of CMLL. You got AEW, you got Monster Sauce. Like, they brought in a lot of fresh teams, and I think that especially, we get to the B block, like there are a lot of teams there. I feel like are going to be motivated and really want to try hard, and so it's up on the performers now. Like, if people come out like Gabe Kidd and Coughlin did and seize the day, then this tournament's going to be pretty fun.
Yep.
He also asks, he says, by the wrestling gods, what did Kiyomiya do to Kevin Kelly? Did he steal Kevin's lunch money back in the 4th grade? Does Kevin think Kaito went to the dirt sheets to reveal to them that Kevin is the reason why Colt Cabana is in New Japan? Did Kiyomiya want to use real glass? I need an explanation because this bullying is ridiculous.
Has Kevin... I don't know. I'm not on Twitter lately. Is Kevin continuing to do things to Kaito Kiyomiya lately?
Yeah, it's, he's continuing the stick that he was doing in the G1 of, kind of burying Kiyomiya, I forgot what he said recently in his tweets, but essentially, he was continuing to kind of dog Kiyomiya.
I don't know. Might just be a gimmick. Maybe he's mad because he shoot kicked Okada in the fucking face the way he did. I don't know.
I don't know. All right, so that's it for night 1. Tomorrow, November 21st, by the time you guys are listening to this, we'll have a night 2 action, which will open up with the pre-show. Yuto Nakashima will be taking on a debuting young lion, Katsuya Murashima. So that'll be interesting to see how he does against Nakashima. And then we got Oscar Loibe and Tokyo Hanuma taking on the Gates of Agony. Kiyomiya, Bolton Oleg, Oiwa taking on Callum Newman, Great Okan Hinare. Master Wato, Narita Umino, and Tiger Mask taking on the Bullet Club team of Coughlin, Kid, Gato, and Taiji Ishimori. We'll have House of Torture, Dictogo, Evil, and Yujiro taking on TMDK, Vegeta, Nichols, and Haste. And then B block action will kick off. We will have Minoru Suzuki and Blue Justice Yuji Nagata taking on Team CMLL of Atlantis Jr. and Soberano Jr. Then we'll have the Monster Sauce team of Alex Zane and Lance Archer taking on the Bullet Club Rogue Army team of Bad Luck Fale and Jack Bonza. Then the semi-main event, we're going to have the Just 5 Guys team of Taichi and Yuya Uemura taking on Xander Khan Jr. and Yota Tsuji. And then the main event will be champion versus champion. Bishamon, Hiroki Goto, and Yoshihashi will take on the strong openweight tag champions, Guerrillas of Destiny, El Phantasmo, and Hikuleo.
That's a lot.
Any matchups you're looking for on night 2?
I am interested to see Xander Khan Jr. in action for the first time. I think him and Tsuji against Taichi and Uemura is probably going to be very interesting, especially with the history between Tsuji and Uemura, which definitely played into the preview match leading to this one. And then, Minoru Suzuki and Yuji Nagata versus Team CMLL. That one is going to be awesome.
Yeah, I think the first champion match is going to be a lot of fun. I could see Phantasmo and Hikuleo getting the upset win.
I could too. I'm just going to say it, Jeremy, just throwing it out there. I am not into this team of El Phantasmo and Hikuleo. They do nothing for me. I like both guys separately, but this tag team, I'm not interested in it whatsoever. I want to see El Phantasmo do something substantial.
Yeah.
So, just throwing it out there.
Want to run us through night 3?
Yeah, so night 3, we are coming from Yokohama Budokan on November 23rd. Yuto Nakashima will take on Shoma Kota in the opener. Atlantis Jr., Soberano Jr., Tiger Mask take on the Bullet Club team of Bad Luck Fale, Jack Bonds, and Taiji Ishimori. Wato, Suzuki, Hanma, and Nagata versus the LIJ team of Bushi, Hiromu, Tsuji, along with Xander Khan Jr. Fourth match of the night, Bishamon and Oleg Bolton taking on Monster Sauce and Oscar Luebe. Fifth match of the night, El Phantasmo, Hikuleo, and Jado of GOD take on Just 5 Guys team of Doki, Taka, and Yuya Uemura. Tournament action, we have Gates of Agony versus Chaos, Keito Kiyomiya and Oiwa versus the United Empire. Semi-main event, Narita and Umino versus the Bullet Club War Dogs. And then your main event of the evening, TMDK versus the House of Torture.
Yeah, there's some interesting matchups here. I'm looking forward to War Dogs versus Musketeers. I feel like if they bring that same energy that they brought from night 1 into this matchup here, like Gabe Kidd and Narita exchanging strikes could be a lot of fun.
Everything in this block is pretty interesting to me, except for anything having to do with House of Torture. But I'm kind of hoping that Team DK picks up the big win here in the main event. But even like Gates of Agony versus Ishii and Yano, I know Yano's there, but the Ishii side of it, that might be pretty interesting.
Yeah, Ishii and Toa Leona going in there, I think could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and Kiyomiya and Oiwa versus United Empire looks really good. This is a good lineup. Just the main event's a little weak, but like you, I think Narita and Umino versus the War Dogs probably the one to look out for.
Yeah. Then night 4, November 24th, we got Oscar Lobe against Katsuya Murashima, Master Wato, Ren Narita, and Shota Umino versus the Gates of Agony and Yuto Nakashima. Bishamon and Yo and Taguchi taking on Coughlin Kid, Gato, and Ishimori from Bullet Club. LIJ team of Bushi, Hiromu, Shingo taking on House of Torture team of Dick Togo, Evil, and Yujiro. Then United Empire, Callum Newman, Great Okan, and Hinare taking on TMDK, Fujita, Nichols, and Hayes. And then B block action, we'll have Atlantis Jr. and Soberano Jr. taking on the Bullet Club Rogue Army. We'll have Suzuki and Nagata taking on Xanakan Jr. and Yota Tsuji. Then semi-main event, we'll have the tag champs Bishamon taking on Monster Sauce. And then the main event, we'll see the strong openweight tag champs ELP and Hikuleo taking on Taiji and Yuya Uemura.
Yeah, taking a look, and this is night 4, you said, right?
Yeah.
I think Monster Sauce versus Bishamon's the first thing that really gets my attention.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also looking forward to the dads versus Suji and Z.
Yeah, I think I want to see like Suji mix it up with Suzuki and Nagata. I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Nice. World Tag League Night 5 from Fujisawa City, Akabadai Cultural Gymnasium, 11/24/23. We open up with Yuto Nakashima taking on Katsuya Murashima. Second match of the night, Atlantis Jr., Old Bolton, and Soberano Jr. taking on Monster Sauce and Oscar Luebe. Third match of the night, Goto, Yo, and Yoshihashi, along with Taguchi, take on the Bull Club's Fale, Gato, Bonza, and Ishimori. Fourth match of the night, we have Wato, Suzuki, Hanma, and Nagata taking on just 5 guys, Doki, Sanada, Taka, and Uemura. Fifth match of the night, the LIJ team of Bushi and Tsuji, along with Z, taking on GOD's ELP, Hikuleo, and Jado. Getting into the tournament action, we have Narita and Umino taking on the Gates of Agony. Seventh match of the night, Chaos versus the War Dogs. Same semi-main event, Kiyomiya and Oiwa versus the House of Torture. And then in your main event, we have TMDK taking on the United Empire's Okan and Hinare.
Yeah, I think the thing for me here that I think is going to be probably the most fun to watch is Ishii and Gabe Kidd and Ishii and Alex Coughlin mixing it up in that matchup.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think the main event also is going to be very interesting. Keep in mind what happened during the G1 this past year where Mikey Nichols dumped Hinare on his neck.
Yeah.
And that was a very hard-hitting match. So I'm thinking we're probably going to see something akin to that in the main event on that evening.
Yeah, so that should be fun as well. Then that takes us to night 6, which will be the last night that will happen before we record again next week, November 26th. We'll have Gates of Agony and Hanma and Nakashima taking on the Bullet Club team of Alex Coughlin, Gabe Kidd, Gato, and Taiji Shimori. United Empire team of Callum Newman, Great Okan, Hinare against the House of Torture team of Dick Togo, Evil, and Yujiro. The Chaos team of Ishii, Yano, and Yo against the TMDK team of Vegeta, Nichols, and Hayes. Kiyomiya, Bolton Oleg, Oiwa, and Oscar Loibe taking on... it's Kiyomiya, Bolton Oleg, and Oiwa teaming up, taking on Oscar Loibe, Ren Narita, and Shota Umino. And then the block action will have Atlantis Jr. and Soberano Jr. against Monster Sauce, Bishamon against the Rogue Army, Suzuki and Nagata against Taichi and Uemura. And then the main event will be Phantasmo and Hikuleo against Xanakan Jr. and Yota Tsuji.
Yeah, I'm really digging the CMLL team as well as Monster Sauce. So that will be a very good and fun opener. And then I've kind of got the semi-main event targeted because it's going to be the first time we see Taichi and Suzuki opposite one another in this tag league. And that's going to also be, something to look out for.
Yeah. That should be a lot of fun. Plus, the very hard-hitting stuff there, I think, with all those guys in there. And I think it'd be a good matchup for Uemura, too, kind of being with all those experienced guys.
Yeah, well, we got 5 nights of World Tag League action coming in just the course of a week. So we will have coverage on that live next week. Let's jump into the news. So first bit of business. Members of the International Fan Club, Team NJPW USA, will be available to purchase tickets to Stardom shows on December 29th at Ryogoku Sumo Hall and January 4th at Tokyo Dome City Hall from the comfort of their own homes. Ticket sales are limited to members of Team NJPW USA. Visit njpw1972.com for more details. It's also been reported by multiple outlets that WWE yet again has interest in signing Kazuchika Okada. The Wrestling Observer reports that the reason Nakamura is getting pushed right now is to show Okada that this regime will not be doing stereotypical booking of Japanese talent. And we did have a question here from Lee Chang Isbay too. If Okada does decide to leave for the WWE, who becomes the next ace, and will New Japan go through a new dark age if he does leave?
So yeah, interesting question. I feel like, if New Japan knows that Okada is leaving, then unlike what they're doing with Will Ospreay, I make sure Okada is putting over a bunch of people on the way out. He's gonna put over Tsuji, he's gonna put over Yumura, he's gonna put over Narita, he's gonna put over Umino, he's gonna put over all these young guys on the way out. I think one of those guys would also be positioned to be the next ace, probably being Shota Umino. Will they go through dark ages? I don't think so, but if they don't properly elevate somebody new, then they probably are going to have a harder time making as much money as they do with Okada on top.
I think it would be cataclysmic if they lost Okada at this stage, to be honest with you. Although there's probably some Naito fans out there that are crossing their fingers and just hoping, like, oh God, please. Last bit of news, Will Ospreay defeated Josh Alexander last week on Impact. So I guess that's still news. I don't know. We'll see.
Then we had just 2 other questions here, and then we'll wrap things up. Lee Chang is Bay 2 says, how big will the pop be when Takami Obari gets fired at Wrestle Kingdom 18 and Big Papa Harold May returns running down the ramp like he did at Wrestle Kingdom 12 and reclaims his rightful position as president of New Japan? LOL.
I think it was Dominion where he ran down the ramp, but maybe I don't know. I can't recall, but I loved Harold May. I don't know. Like,
yeah, I think the first time was Dominion. He might have done something at Wrestle Kingdom too.
He might have done it again. I don't know. That'd be so funny.
And then the Discord daddy MJSPR says, do you think any dads will be retiring in 2024?
Us.
It's hard to say. I mean, I think probably first person up is probably Tenzon, right? That needs.
See ya, Tenzon.
Yeah, so I mean, he's still going. I mean, they don't really use him in much spots. He's mainly in multi-man stuff. So if anybody were to go next year, I would say him, and then maybe possibly Togi Makabe next, maybe. Or Nagata.
I could see Nagata or Suzuki leaving.
Yeah.
Hanma. You never know.
Yeah.
Tanahashi. Tiger Mask. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's it for the questions. We're still on hold for recommended match of the week, right?
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
I honestly, I think we're just gonna. I mean, I think we should just move to. We'll figure it out.
Okay. Just like the Continental Classic, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, but we're not gonna. That I don't even, bro. I can't believe I found out about this on the air.
That's actually good for live, like instant real reaction.
Ugh, what the fuck? My stomach is turned. I fucking hate that. Do other people hate it as much as me?
Oh yeah, there was a lot of people upset.
I didn't hear anything in any of our group chats about it.
None of our people in our group chat really, I don't think are care, but like a lot of the New Japan fans and outlet were very upset that Eddie Kingston's not going to put somebody over for the strong title.
Oh yeah, he's not putting somebody over. Oh my god, you're such cucks. Yes, we, New Japan, Shinihan, we.
And yeah, the whole thing, Tony Khan is saying that, there will be absolutely no outside interference for the Continental Classic.
I saw that and I just thought, like, why the fuck would you make that announcement for these matches as though you couldn't make that announcement for all of your matches? Like, it doesn't logically make sense.
Right. All your matches should have no
interference. What are you saying right now?
Yeah, I don't know. To me, like, that screams there is going to be interference.
No, to me, that screams there is no actual kayfabe, like hint, hint, wink, wink. Like, oh yeah, we know about the interference in the regular matches, but these ones aren't going to have it.
These are going to be real.
These will be real. This is all right. Fuck off.
This tournament's going to be a shoot.
This tournament will be contested under Brawl for All rules. Inoki won.
Well, Inoki's family was backstage at Full Gear.
Yeah, bro. I watch. Never mind. I'm not gonna get it. I'm not gonna talk about Full Gear because I'll piss people off.
Well, let's shut it down here then. Like I said, at the top of the show, next week we will be joined by Walker Stewart, the new voice of English commentary for New Japan. So be on the lookout for that interview coming next week, and we will review those 5 World Tag League nights that will be happening and covering any other big news or meltdown that happens in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. So if you enjoyed today's show, please consider making a donation. Visit socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure to connect with us on social media. On X, we are at KI Strong Style. You can follow the network at Social Suplex. You can follow me at Jeremy L. Donovan on Facebook. We are facebook.com/Social Suplex. Also, you can find us in the Wrestling Squared Circle Facebook group. Check out our Discord channel. Look for the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Follow us on Instagram at Social Suplex. You can follow us on Reddit. I'm the Pro Black Guy. Josh is Keeping a Strong Style. You can email me, Jeremy at socialsuplex.com. Check out all the other shows that we have here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. One Nation Radio with Rich Latta and James Boyd. All Things Elite with Floyd Johnson Jr. and Austin Sumowitz. Imp's WWE Adventure with The Implications, Matthew Mayer, and Wrestling Art with Chris Things. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review, and we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Ichiban.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.